Momo never believed her father could stop loving her. She believed he could be strict. She believed he could be angry. She believed he could be disappointed, but she never believed he could throw her out of the house at midnight, like she was nothing more than a mistake he wanted to forget. Until that night proved her wrong. Momo was 17, quiet, soft-spoken, and painfully obedient. She woke up before sunrise every day. She cleaned the house without being asked. She studied late into the night, even when her eyes burned. All she ever wanted was one thing: her father's approval. Her mother had died when Momo was young, and since then, the house belonged to silence and rules. Her father, Rashid, was known in the neighborhood as a respectable man, disciplined. Proud, feared. Inside the house, love was replaced with obedience. Mistakes were not corrected. They were punished. The trouble started with rumors. Someone had told her father that Momo was seen talking to a boy outside her school. It wasn't true, not in the way people twisted it. The boy was a classmate. They had spoken about homework. Nothing more, but in Rashid's world, a girl's explanation never mattered. That evening, he didn't shout. He didn't hit. He just looked at her with something colder than anger. "You've embarrassed me," he said. Quietly, Momo's heart collapsed. "I didn't do anything wrong," she whispered. Silence. And silence in that house was more dangerous than screams. The midnight Jaguja man tied that night. Momo was woken by her father's voice. "Get up!" The clock showed 12:47 a.m. She wrapped her shawl tightly around herself and stepped into the living room. Her father stood near the door. A small bag lay on the floor. "Leave," he said. Momo froze. "Abba." Her voice shook. "What are you saying?" "You've ruined my honor," he replied. "I won't keep you in my house." Her legs gave way. "I swear I didn't. I don't care," he interrupted. "Go." She looked around desperately. There was no one to protect her, no one to stop him. When she stepped outside, barefoot and trembling, the door closed behind her. Click. That sound cut her life into two pieces. The street was empty. Cold air burned her skin. Fear wrapped around her chest. Momo stood there, shaking, staring at the door that would never open again. She knocked once, twice, again. No answer. Neighbors slept. Lights were off. The world had forgotten her for the first time in her life. Momo felt something worse than fear. Abandonment. She walked. She didn't know where she was going, only that she could not stay where she was unwanted. "The promise made in Tar," sneered Dawn. Momo sat on the steps of an old clothes shop, hugging her knees. Her body was cold. Her eyes were dry. She had cried everything out. She looked at the sky as light slowly returned, and there, in the quietest voice imaginable, she made a promise, not out loud, but deep inside her chest. "You threw me away like I was nothing. One day, you will see what you lost. Not through anger, but through my rise." This wasn't hatred, this was survival turning into strength. Momo didn't know how. She didn't know when, but she knew one thing with terrifying certainty. She would never beg again. Morning came without mercy. The sun rose as if nothing had happened, as if a girl had not been thrown out of her home in the middle of the night and left to survive on faith alone. Momo woke up on the cold steps of the closed shop, her body stiff, her head heavy. For a few seconds, she forgot everything. Then reality crashed back. She was homeless. She was unwanted. She was alone. Her father's door would never open again. Hunger hit her. Before fear, her stomach twisted painfully as people began filling the streets, shopkeepers opening shutters, school children laughing, life moving forward without her. Momo stood up slowly, brushing dust from her clothes. She had no money, no phone, no place to go. As she walked, she avoided looking at houses. Every closed door reminded her of the one that had shut her out forever, near a small roadside tea stall. The smell of bread made her dizzy. She stood there too long, staring. The owner noticed. "You lost child?" he asked. Momo shook her head, unable to speak, something in her eyes exhaustion. Fear, pride made the man sigh. He handed her a piece of bread and tea. Eat, he said. No questions. Momo cried quietly as she ate. It was the first kindness she had felt since midnight. Later that day. Near the bus station, Momo collapsed onto a bench. Her strength finally gone. That's when Shazia noticed her. Shazia was a widow in her 40s who ran a small tailoring shop nearby. She had survived her own battles and recognized broken people immediately. "Where are your parents?" Shazia asked gently. Momo tried to answer. Nothing came out. Tears did. Shazia didn't push. She simply said, "Come with me. At least wash your face." That simple sentence saved Momo's life. Shazia's house was small, crowded with sewing machines and fabric rolls. It wasn't comfort, but it was safety. Momo told her everything that night. The rumors, the accusations, the door closing. Shazia listened silently, her jaw tightening. "Men like your father confuse honor with control," she said finally. "And girls like you pay the price." Momo expected anger. Instead, Shazia said, "You can stay here. You'll work, you'll learn, and you'll stand on your own feet." No pity, no charity, just opportunity. Momo nodded. For the first time since that night, she felt something other than pain. Purpose. Life with Shazia was not easy. Momo worked from dawn till night cleaning, stitching, delivering clothes. Her fingers bled. Her back ached. Her pride was constantly tested. But no one shouted at her. No one accused her. No one threw her out. At night, she studied old books Shazia kept, teaching herself through borrowed pages and quiet determination. Each stitch she sewed felt like a step forward. Each tired breath whispered, "It's the same truth." She was surviving sometimes. In the dead of night, memories attacked her. Her father's voice, the door closing, the cold street. Anger would rise like fire. But Momo swallowed it. She remembered her promise. Her revenge would not be loud. It would not be violent. It would be undeniable. One afternoon, Shazia watched Momo calculate fabric costs faster than expected. "You're sharp," she said. "Smarter than you know." That night, Shazia made her an offer. "I'll teach you everything: business, accounts, customers. But you must promise me one thing." Momo looked up. "Never let anyone throw you out again." Momo nodded, tears shining. "I promise." Inside her chest, something began to grow, not hatred, but strength. And far away, her father slept peacefully, unaware that the daughter he erased was quietly becoming someone he would one day regret losing. Time did not heal. Momo. Work did. Pain slowly changed shape inside her, not disappearing, but sharpening into focus. Months passed in Shazia's tailoring shop, and the frightened girl, who had once collapsed on a bench near the bus station, was no longer there. In her place stood someone quieter, stronger, and watching everything. Momo learned faster than Shazia expected. She memorized measurements. She learned fabric quality by touch. She understood customers by listening more than speaking. Soon women began asking specifically for the quiet girl. "She stitches neatly," they said. "She listens, she understands." Shazia noticed the change. "You don't work like someone who wants to survive," she told Momo one night. "You work like someone who wants to rise." Momo didn't reply. She was afraid to speak her ambition aloud. It would disappear if named too early. Shazia sent Momo to deliver orders to richer neighborhoods at first. Momo's hands trembled walking past large houses, houses that reminded her of the one she had been thrown out of. But slowly, fear loosened its grip. She noticed something important. The people inside those homes were not gods. They were ordinary, flawed, worried, insecure. Just like her father. That realization cracked something open inside her. One afternoon, while delivering clothes, Momo overheard two women talking. "Did you hear about Rashid's daughter?" One whispered, "The one who was thrown out?" Momo froze. "She disappeared," the other replied. Shameful family matter. Momo walked away silently. Heart pounding. Her father had not told the truth. He had let the world believe she was disgraceful that night. Momo didn't cry. She wrote her name on a piece of paper. Momo Rsied. Then she folded it carefully and placed it inside a drawer. One day, she thought, you will hear this name again a year later. Shazia fell sick. Orders piled up. Customers waited. Momo stepped in without being asked. She managed accounts. She negotiated prices. She handled difficult clients with calm confidence. When Shazia recovered, she stared at the books in disbelief. You ran my shop better than I ever did, she admitted. Momo hesitated. I have an idea, she said quietly. We expand. Online orders. Custom work. Shazia studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. I didn't save a child that night, she said. I found a partner. Within months, their work spreads photos circulated. Orders increased. Profits grew. Momo worked harder than ever, but now every late night meant progress. She rented a small room of her own. The first night she slept there. She sat on the floor, hugged her knees, and whispered, no one can throw me out now. The father who didn't Kaon Nobu far away. Rashid heard rumors, a tailoring business run by women, good quality, popular. Didn't know his daughter's hands were behind every stitch. He didn't know the girl he erased was building something stronger than his pride. But fate was patient, and it was moving quietly toward him. One evening, Momo stood in front of a mirror, taller now, steadier. She remembered the night she stood, barefoot in the dark. She looked into her own eyes and spoke calmly. You threw me away in silence. I will return the same way, not to beg, but to be seen. Her revenge was no longer a dream. It was a direction. Success came quietly to Momo, but it stayed loudly. The small tailoring business became a registered brand. Orders came from neighboring cities. Women trusted the name stitched onto every piece of fabric. Mr. Creation Snow. One knew what the letters meant, except Momo. Rashid heard it from someone else. A shopkeeper mentioned casually. You know that new women-run business? Very respectable. Owned by a girl named Momo Rashid. The name struck him like a slap. Momo. Rashid, he repeated. Yes, the man nodded. Strong girl, self-made. Rashid went silent. That night he couldn't sleep. The girl he had erased. The daughter he had thrown into the street. She had not disappeared. She had risen. The visit he never XPC'd seeds weeks later. Rashid stood outside a modern office space. Heart pounding. The sign read, Mr. Creation's founder. Momo Rashid, his hands trembled. Inside, Momo was reviewing orders when the receptionist said quietly, there's an older man here. He says he's your father. Momo closed her eyes. She had imagined this moment many times. She stood up, not shaking. Not afraid. Send him in, she said calmly. Rashid entered slowly. His daughter stood before him, confident, composed, unbroken. Not a trace of the frightened girl from that midnight. I came to take you home, he said, voice weak. Momo looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke. You threw me out without asking for the truth. You believed rumors over your own child? Rashid lowered his head. I was angry. No, Momo replied softly. You were proud. Silence filled the room. I survived, Momo continued. I starved. I worked. I learned. Not because you helped me, but because you abandoned me. Rashid's eyes filled with tears. Come back, he begged. People ask about you. Momo smiled gently. That house stopped being my home the night you locked the door. She walked to the door and opened it. I don't hate you, she said, but I don't belong to you anymore. Rashid left broken not by anger, but by truth. That night, Momo stood on her balcony, city lights glowing below. She remembered the cold pavement, the closed door, the fear. She whispered softly, You threw me out at midnight. I returned at daylight, not as your daughter, but as my own person. Her revenge was complete. She didn't destroy him. She outgrew him.